2016. This defendant has been treated like every other defendant that our office prosecutes, and there's about 9,500 of them a year, as I said, adult cases. We followed our standard practice, and we kept our eye on the ball. And what was important, it was that getting justice for the victim in this case, Andrea Constant. And so I stand before all of you pleased that we have done that, pleased that the defendant was convicted, pleased that he was finally sentenced in a court of law, and that we've closed the book on that chapter. So before we wrap up and take questions, and I think Bibi asked to say a couple words, I wanted to share with you that Jennifer Storm, who is the Commonwealth of Pennsylvania's victim advocate, has been in touch with the many other victims, and the ones that have come forward here to say that they too were victims of this defendant. And as you know, Pennsylvania law limits the other victim's role in the sentencing hearing that we just went through, but it is important that they have a voice. It's important that they be allowed to tell the stories of what happened to them for their own healing. So Jen has organized a press event, and she's going to give everybody time between now and when that starts in a short while over at Savior Hall, 410 East Airy Street here in Norristown. It's just a few blocks away, so that the many other victims will be there, and it's my understanding many of them would like to speak at that point, and so I'd encourage anybody to go over to them. Bibi, you asked to say something, and then I'll take questions.
I requested 30 seconds because I wasn't fortunate enough to be here for the verdict. We just wanted to extend our heartfelt thanks to the prosecution team. Kevin Steele, Kristen Fedden, Stu Ryan, the detectives, everyone who has worked on this case has just been so wonderful. Dolores and I are ex-prosecutors, so we recognize brilliance in them. And this team was not only compassionate to the victim, but they were also so tenacious in the preparation of the case. Just a marvelous job, and we're so appreciative. I have to say one word about Andrea. We have represented Andrea now for almost 14 years. She is an incredible person. She has gone through this process and the many processes with both courage and grace. And she's just a marvelous person, and we've been fortunate to represent her. The final thing I wanted to say is, for us, we get to close this chapter of our book, fictional book, but we get to close it today. For other victims, they're just now beginning to write their own books, and hopefully they will feel safer and more free to do so. Thank you. Thank you so much.
Yeah, it's not my purse. All right, we'll take questions. Yes, sir.
David Spon, CBS 3. Will Ms. Constant be speaking at all today? I just want to know how you feel today now that this is finally here.
No. Thanks.
Kevin,
Yes, sir.
what do you think was critical at getting the conviction? It's been 34 months. We had a mistrial in the first trial. We were able to be successful in the second trial. Looking back now, what do you think was critical at getting the conviction of Mr. Cosby?
Well, there's so many aspects of the evidence that we had that we felt was very strong. Of course, his own words, which basically spelled out what he did, and the jury heard that. And I think another aspect that I would be remiss if I didn't talk about is Dr. Ziv, and the better understanding of victims and what they go through. That she was able to tell the jury and discuss with them, and I don't know whether that had an impact on the jury or not, but we felt that it was powerful evidence to have in the case. So there's a number of things in this case that were very, very strong and continue to be strong, and I'm confident on where we are on the case.
How would you characterize seeing Mr. Cosby in handcuffs? I know you left the courtroom, but you might have seen pictures. I mean, it was pretty significant seeing him walk out of court in handcuffs. What does that all mean?
Look, it's not a cause for celebration, and we take very seriously the taking of somebody's liberty. But I will not apologize for our job, and our job is to separate the predators from the good people in our community, and that happened today. And that happened when he was escorted out of the courtroom by the sheriffs in handcuffs. Next. Everybody's too hot, and so you have no other questions?
If I can, if nobody else wants to take it, if I can.
Okay.
I work for an African-American radio station. There have been many in the African-American community who felt that this was an unjust prosecution. How do you respond to that you have put a icon in the eyes of many African-Americans in jail?
This is no different from any other case and any other defendant that prosecutes. We simply follow the evidence where it takes us, and it doesn't matter who they are. And I think that's really important, because if somebody's wealth or fame or who they were detractors from following that evidence, then justice wouldn't be getting done in cases. It's been an interesting start to a time as district attorney here. I had to prosecute the chief law enforcement officer in the state, the attorney general, and we didn't hear that during this. We prosecute where the evidence takes us, and that was done in this case. And when Judge Rubino released the deposition and said that this is perhaps criminal, we're obligated to look at that, and we did, and we worked through the case, and we got to where we are today. So.
Yeah, that's what I
Once-
was going to ask about. Of course, they've already started their appeal process, and just want to give you a chance to address what they're saying about the tape being doctored, and whether or not you want to comment on that.
I will. I'll just say I'm very confident in the place we are. If that's what they've got, it's beyond a Hail Mary, which I said in court. And this is nothing new. Maybe it's new for these defense attorneys, but this was something that got discussed back in 2006, and was part of the deposition that it's not a full tape, because she turned it on. The tape with Gianna Constant taped. You heard it in court,
okay.
and I think everybody recognizes that it didn't start at the beginning, because she had to turn on. And anybody that was there and saw it saw the microcassette that she used to do that. So if that's where they are, and that's where we're going, I'm confident on where we are.
Could you go through the process of what happens to Mr. Cosby now, where he goes, how long he'll stay there?
Sure.
And then where he goes next?
Sure. So today he got escorted from the courtroom. He starts at the Montgomery County Correctional Facility. That's in Eagleville. From there, he goes to actually a new state correctional institution called Phoenix, which was Graterford before, which is also in our county. And then he'll be there and get designated, I believe, from there to one of the state institutions throughout the Commonwealth of Pennsylvania. And our Department of Corrections does a terrific job with things, and they'll look at safety issues, and they'll look at needs, and act accordingly.
You asked for 5 years, between 5 and 10. The judge gave you 3 to 10.
Mm-hmm.
A little lower than you wanted, but I guess overall you're happy with the verdict.
So the judge, I believe, considered the guidelines, and that guideline was at the top end of the standard range. On the front end of the case, I think it's very important to note the tail end of the case. So he sentenced him to a maximum term on the tail end, which is 10 years. And that's important in that, after 3 years of incarceration, somebody would be eligible for parole. But victims get a say in that now. And that has come over time, and they get a say. And so this is going to be a process that goes through, but he could serve every day of 10 years at this point, and that's the sentence that he was given.
How much money do you want to get back? They had talked about the cost of prosecution. I know at one point it was like $250,000 for one, so how much total money are you asking for Cosby to pay back to the
Right.
county?
So I guess there's different entities through this. So you have the court costs, and that will be put in by the court. Sheriffs can put their costs in. We put the costs for the witness travel and the hotels and the expert fees, which amounted to about $43,000. And so we asked that be recouped by our office. So, and that was signed by the judge today, and I'm not sure how the rest of those will be handled, but there's different costs that come with it, and he also got a fine, and the judge gave him a maximum fine. Maybe that's not a big deal to most folks, but $25,000 was a maximum fine in the case. Anybody else?
Mr. Steele, I'm wondering, what actually is the legal process? I'm Dominic Patton from Deadline Hollywood. Obviously, they're going to appeal, so where does this go now, and what is the involvement of your office in this going forward? Because they've already started talking about the state Supreme Court.
We got a little ways to get to before we get to the state Supreme Court. So they have an opportunity to file post-trial motions. They don't have to do that. And then after that, they'll file an appeal to the Superior Court, and that's going to be handled by our office. And I've said it before, I will put this appellate team up against anybody. We have been directed and given great guidance in this case throughout by all of them. Bob Fallon, Adrian Jappy, these two have been with me, and we've been together for a long time, and they are beyond excellent. And I am so proud of them, and that'll be the process. All right, everybody, thank you very much, and I hope many of you can get down to hear from some of the other victims.
We've never actually got a chance to meet.
Pleasure to meet you. Thanks.